All right, what's up, guys? Back at it again. Didn't I just see you? So, we just did an E.H. Taylor Batch 12 review. I still have those bottles poured out in front of me, or those samples, I should say. So, if we want to nerd out a little bit further beyond, what I was hoping was just kind of a review that could sit on the channel and, people could check out later, less of a live stream. If we want to nerd out about it a little more at the beginning of the stream, or really at any point, we can do that. I still have it in front of me. We have a lot of stuff to get into tonight. So thank you for being here, number one. Hit that like button on your way in. We've got about 70 folks. With the channel's continued growth and everything like that, I'm hoping that, we're going to keep bringing it on these Thursday night live streams, keep kind of building the audience, building the community. It's really exciting. And speaking of that, I just want to say I'm sorry to some degree, but also, life happens. I felt like I haven't streamed in forever. It's been maybe one live stream in the month of January, so I apologize for that, but at some point, there's just nothing I can do with getting sick and work being crazy and everything, so I promise the frequency of lives per month is supposed to be 2 to 3 per month. Take 1 week off, maybe 2, depending if things get a little wild. So I do want to apologize, but it kind of is what it is, which is why we have so many things to taste tonight. And I have to be careful, not to go overboard. So you saw on the thumbnail this evening that we're going to taste Jefferson's Tropics. And there have been a lot of things said about Jefferson's Tropics. Some speculation on the source. There have been favorable reviews, of a product from a company that is traditionally kind of... I don't want to misspeak on how Jefferson's is regarded, so you let me know in the chat how you would characterize Jefferson, so I don't have to say it. But a company that's been underwhelming, to say the least, in recent years. Of course, the presidential selects of years past were epic, but, we're not seeing stuff like that these days. Anyways, Jefferson's Tropics is on the menu tonight. Another bottle that actually just showed up that didn't make it on the thumbnail, which... because it just showed up, is this Bourbon Junkies Exceptional Series Rare Character. Now, I have a couple other of these malt whiskeys that I've picked up recently, and so maybe we'll get into a comparison here. Let me know in the chat if you guys picked up this Bourbon Junkies Rare Character malt whiskey. What else? Oh, Heaven Hill 20 year. I've got to grab that sample. All right, so we got Heaven Hill 20 year, courtesy of Jimmy Copeland. And last but certainly not least... we're going to get into this. If I say drama, I'm going to get myself in trouble again. We're doing laser codes for Michter's 10. Well, we kind of are, actually. But we're going to get into the Michter's 10-year bourbon 2023. Conspiracy is a really strong word for it, and I don't think there's any ill intent. Whatever the cause is of this speculation about the consistency from these different barrel letters, which correspond to the months that these barrels were dumped and bottled. So we're going to get into that. I have some samples of some various Michter's 10s. I have 2 A batches or A single barrels myself. I've got an E from Tem, who also sent the E.H. Taylor this evening. And I've got a D from Jimmy Copeland, who sent the Heaven Hill 20. So thank you, Tim and Jimmy. You guys are pretty much making this live stream happen this evening. And tonight's Michter's 10-year bourbon comparison is not going to be blind. It's going to be unblind, and there will be a video that comes out blind with even more samples, because I believe Zach Butler mentioned he's going to send one my way. I think it's a B barrel. And I'll see if I can snag one more, because I'd like to do 6 and see if there's an obvious difference between the 2 A samples and the 3 to 4 others doing it blind. So that's going to happen soon, but right now, tonight, it's just going to be kind of a cursory examination, unblind. People are going to bitch about it. They're going to say, you should have done it blind. Well, I'm going to. With the whole laser coat thing, everyone said, well, you didn't do it blind. Well, a lot of other people did, so I think, we're fine. Okay. Ignored. So I gotta grab, actually I did grab it. We're gonna have a little dram of scotch at the beginning of the stream, because I just saw this on the way in. Cheers, guys. I'm gonna, I'm not gonna bring everybody's individual name up in chat, but I see you all: Christine, Josh, Janelle, Jeff, Mr. Zetro, Owen, Michael, here we go. So Michael says, good evening, all you wonderful whiskey people. Happy Burns night, me lads and lassies. So gotta have a little scotch. Michael posted in the Patreon. I saw it just before I jumped on. So we're going to do a little dram here of a new bottle. I'm going to kind of, I don't like bottle haul videos, but I will show you guys what, because I don't want to see a whole video about what you bought, you know? So I'll take 60 seconds and show you what I picked up the other day, just very, very quickly. But one of those bottles is this Glengoyne 21 at 43% ABV. Natural color, but it is presumably chill filtered, unfortunately. So cheers if anybody's got a little scotch in their glass. Burns night, here you go. Cheers. Glengoyne sherry casks, always gentle sherry influence for me, delicate. It allows some more of the base spirit to shine through. It's nice. You get a lot of good toffee, and even though this is a sherry cask, you expect dried red fruits. This is fresh sherry to me. It allows the toffee notes to come through. It allows the distillery to come through. You still are getting green apple peel, but it's soft. It's very soft, Glengoyne for me. All right. So cheers to you guys if you are drinking some scotch this evening. What's up, Keith Thompson? Javier, I see you. Joe, Sugar Kitty, Toshi, good evening, everybody. I'm going to keep scrolling here. I drank all the B scotches I have, says Javier. Balblair, Bladnock, Bunnahabhain, Brooklotti, and Blair. Jeez, say that 3 times fast. Come on. Gonna keep scrolling. What is up, Will Molnar? Okay. Wait. Got to catch Toshi. We were talking about Jefferson's. He says ignored is what Jefferson's is. Yeah. Well, apparently not. I mean, people, they're in business still. There are a lot of bottles, Christine. I'm going to move a lot of these out of the way after I do my 60-second bottle haul segment. Daniel says, never even tried a Jefferson's anything. Haven't been interested enough. Yeah, Peter says, Mac 18 there with the egregious price tag when there are so many excellent 18s for a fraction. Peter, I wanted to see for myself. And, yeah, I know. Okay, Clay is jumping down the Armagnac rabbit hole tonight, sipping on a 1989 Domaine de Chiron with 1991 Domaine La Salve, which is a L'Incantata bottling. Okay. I don't know what I'm saying. I can't say all those words. I'll fake it. All right, here we go. Michael Hogan says, I maintain that Jefferson's is driven by gimmicks. A boat, a humid place. Come on. We're going to get into that. We are going to get into that. All right. Cool. So let's really quickly, let me run down what I picked up the other day, guys. And this is going to be in the mix. So Jefferson's Tropics, which we are going to focus on tonight, that is a bottle that I picked up. I grabbed a newer bottling of Old Grandad 114. I checked the code to make sure this was a 2023. I wanted to get a recent edition of this so that when I review it on the channel, I'm not tasting a bottle from 2019 or 2020 like I have now. So this is like bottled towards the end of the year of 2023. I don't really plan to get into it tonight, but I guess if we have time, maybe. Another one, and patrons, you guys have seen this, so sorry to rehash all this, but another one, Jack Daniel's Bonded Rye. I can't believe it took me this long to snag a bottle of this. It smells like Jack. And here's one that I thought was interesting. I hadn't seen this in Ohio. I didn't know that it was here, but Fred Minnick had this on his top 100, and that is the Applewood Toasted Applewood Stave Finish by Woodinville at 100 proof. All right. I have an idea for that video with that bottle in particular. I have an idea. Yeah, the Jefferson's and then 2 scotches. Okay, 2 scotches. I ate this one because I wanted to see what this was all about. The Mac 18. I'd never had one. I wanted to see what the current edition was all about. And that review will appear on the channel. And then a guilty pleasure of mine, I like Glengoyne quite a bit. I was looking at the 25-year, and this guy was twisting my arm to buy the 25-year. It's $700. And I was just like, what am I doing right now? But it's bottled at 48%, not the 43. It just was like, God, Anyways, didn't do it. Got the Glengoyne 21. I have a previous edition of this with a different presentation. And when I review this 21, I will put it up against the older one, which has been open for several years now. What's up, Zach? Cheers, man. And Jimmy, good to see you guys. All right. So we're going to get into the Jeffersons first, I believe. I'm going to get it poured out. I have a sip of this Eagle Rare that I've got in front of me to kind of get my palate back into, American whiskey bourbon mode. Joey B, this is a great question. Curious why Jefferson's gets a bad rap for trying something new and also being the first to market with it. I think a lot of people believe it to be a gimmick, right? In the same way that American Highway for, who was that? Brad Paisley, maybe, that had that. But here's what I would say. It is easy to just look at it and scoff at the marketing. But at the same time, if it is demonstrably different, I don't even want to say better, but if it's demonstrably different and it it's obvious that it's because of whatever they're saying, that it was on the boat or it was rocking back and forth, whatever they're doing to the whiskey. If you can demonstrate that difference clearly, and it's not this really small, subtle thing, I think that's going to win people over faster because it's more readable from the consumer's point of view. But it is easy to look at it and scoff. I mean, I did the same thing on the voyages, on the, going on the boat thing, and Voyage 27 and 28. I was just like, what are we talking about here? All right. Joe Dickinson says, Woodinville Applewood dropped just a few weeks ago. It's perfect timing. Okay. Clay, I think we're talking Jefferson's here. They've also been what I call cagey about where they sourced. Yeah, Jefferson's doesn't reveal, I don't think, anything, really. Certainly not much. Yeah, the older stuff, leftover Stitzel, I've heard that. And here you go, Michael. It's because of the price. Yeah, and I guess I didn't factor in pricing there. I was just thinking purely about the marketing itself and the whiskey and how it's been affected by what they're saying they've done to it, Lack of disclosure, I get it. So, let's get into it now. I guess we'll probably call it quits here. I think I said what I needed to say about E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof. I have a little bit of the sample left, which is great. All right. Zach says, Cam, waiting on some sample bottles, and I'll send the... Awesome, man. Zach, by the way, Jeb is sending a sample of Stag 23B and 23C, and along with your 23A, not this coming week, but the week after, we're going to do a Stag week. It's going to be a Stag review every day, 23A, 23B, 23C. Live stream's going to have a blind, and then it's either going to be a live stream blind or a video blind, or maybe even both. I got to figure that out. But it's going to be fun to kind of focus a week on a product like that. There still leaves a little bit of room in the week for other stuff, but to get all those reviews out, I think will be cool. Like, bam, bam, bam in the same week. All right. Peter, I've already reviewed 22A. I love it. But now that Stags have, given themselves batch numbers, batch letters, I'm going to try to start segmenting down, now we're going to do all the 23s in a row. Christine says Stag Week needs some serious graphics like Shark Week, but better. Yeah, if I had the skills to do it, I would, but, it's probably not going to happen. The time investment, to reward ratio is probably not fruitful for me. Clay says, play on, playa. Good Lord. I love it. Jay, Stag Week might actually put... Okay, we're going to taste some damn whiskey now. Now Jay's got me mad. Cool, let's get into it. Jefferson's Tropics, the tagline, aged in humidity, which is just like... Again, they're not doing themselves any favors with that tagline, which sounds absurd. But let's give it a chance. 104 proof. Patrons, you guys already know what I think about this. 104 proof. That's a good proof point. It's not 90. It's 104. It's a $100 bottle. And it smells really good. So the rumor is that this is wild turkey. I don't know if that's true, but when you smell this, your mind will immediately go to wild turkey. It's not a suggestion. It's not a faint hint. It smells up front. It's pure cinnamon and cherry notes like you would get on a turkey product. But the thing about this, and maybe I'll pull a couple turkey products for some comparisons right now, actually. Just under the assumption that that's what this is and the rumors are true. The crazy part about this is how oaky the Jefferson's Tropics is, but it's not like heavy, funky oak that makes you think it's like, 15 years old, like Calumet Farm, 15 or something. It's this like, here's a good comparison, actually. If anybody's ever tried a Four Roses, like tier 5, tier 6 product, it smells and tastes like a Four Roses barrel strength, but just like you cranked it up, and it's almost like if you had Four Roses powder and you were mixing it in with water, you added way too much powder to the water, and it's just full concentration, dense, whatever. That's the kind of oak you're getting on the Jefferson's Tropics. Like it was stored in a really, really high part of the rick house, and the oak has just hit it incredibly hard. And it's not faking you out on its age. It's just adding intensity to the flavors, not necessarily the spice. And it's not necessarily too tannic either, at least on the nose. So I can't think of a product that smells like this, and I really like it. All right, let's taste it. This is damn good whiskey. My eyes water, but I'm not crying, I promise. This is not like the Lagavulin 1985 video where I was like almost in tears, which is so insane. Some people called me out on that, but no, that just hit me. Man, this is really, really good whiskey at $100. So if you've tried this in the chat, please, like, even if you don't like it, state your opinion on this. I'm very curious. I love this whiskey. I really, really do. To me, it smells like, I don't know. Let's pick a weird number. It smells like 9-year wild turkey to me, but a great single barrel at the top of the rick house. And I said this is 104 proof. These are not single barrels, by the way, but it's giving me the impression that this is a particular barrel from a high part of a rick house, is what I mean to say. At 104, this is drinking over it, and I like that. Usually it's like you get a high-proof whiskey, you want it to drink under proof, you want it to be an easy sipper. I get it. This is a lower proof, and you're like, damn it, they watered it down to 104. Then you taste it, and it drinks like a 115. Only after you sip it a few times does it start to calm down, round out, and become crushable. This is legit whiskey. And the only that's what makes me think this is wild turkey sourced. I would believe it. And that it has been impacted by the climate. I know it's like, I'm the first one to look at a Jefferson's Voyage and say, I'm not buying that. It's overpriced and it looks like a bunch of marketing schlock, as we discussed earlier. But when you taste this, the difference is very clear of the impact that has to be the climate impact on this. And maybe it's the humidity, aged in humidity. So maybe the tagline is not a bunch of crap. I think this is really good whiskey. Man. Joe Dickinson says, I'm drinking it now. It's like Turkey 101, but double oaked. You know what? I could see it. To me, it doesn't have the pungent thing that a double oaked has, where it gets too, bright oak, young, raw wood. It's not that, but you're right that it has kind of this intensity in the oak. This is like I'm going to buy another one of these and back it up. I know it's $100. That's where this kills me. If this was a $70 bottle, $60 bottle, oh my God. I mean, this would be a market-breaking whiskey, in my opinion, at that price point. I really think so. But at $100, this gets tough. It gets tough. Peter White, how does this compare to say this is? Oh, damn, Peter, that is a great comparison. Let me run down to my basement right now and grab this bottle, because I don't think it's up here, but that would be the most apt comparison at the proof point. I got to check under my bar cart. I'm going to turn my flashlight on. Give me 2 seconds, then I might have to run to my basement. All right, I will be right back. There's 160 people in here. I got to run and grab a bottle from the basement. If I come back and there's 25 people, I'm sorry. I'll be right back. Thank you, guys. That's the one bummer of not having enough shelf space in this room to store all my whiskey. There's a few shelves in the basement. So I grabbed 2 things. Grabbed the small batch select. I also grabbed this Russell's single barrel. Sorry, guys, I hustled. I actually had to dig for this Four Roses. I couldn't find it. All right, let me clear a glass. We'll get into this comparison. I think it's a great comparison. And honestly, I'm not the biggest small batch select fan. If you know me, you know that. If you've been around the channel for a little while. But we'll see how this goes. Mark, there's already so much floor whiskey behind me that I mean, I need to clean this room. Things have, since the channel, I have a list of things, by the way, I want to talk about on this stream. It's a good reminder, but since the channel has kind of grown at a very fast rate over the last few weeks, the amount of things that have been sent by people has grown. Also, I had a funny thing happen, though. I don't think I've said this yet. Beryl sent me the foundation bottle, and the box was empty when it got here. So I don't know if someone ganked it from FedEx or at the Walgreens they had to send it to. I don't know, but I emailed them back, and I'm like, there was nothing in the box. It was literally an empty box arrived. So, sorry, they never got back to me. So maybe they think I'm lying or something. It is what it is. But yeah, so many things have been sent in. I need to organize and get things together in this room. No Floor Whiskey 2024. Hey, what's up, Amy? Guys, please hit that like button if you haven't already. 164 crazy numbers for a Drums and Drams live stream, so thank you for being here. Much appreciated. I got to take this off the screen here. Okay. Joe says the finish is crazy. I agree. All right. So, Four Roses Small Batch Select. First thing you get immediately, you're hit with that herbal Four Roses note. And it's a much clearer cherry syrup. Actually, you know what? This might be strawberry. Somewhere between strawberry and cherry syrup. Like the first thing I get is herbal and then this bright red fruit candy syrup note. So you can smell the corn grain in this still. All right. Yeah, very floral and herbal on this. A little thin, but now let's go back to the Tropics. Oh man, I mean, geez. When you smell the Tropics, chocolate jumps out now. In this comparison, it makes it so clear. Wow. No baked cookie? Is that what I'm thinking? No. There's some kind of like dessert thing that I'm trying to figure out. If you guys have ever had out of those, you know, you get those assorted chocolates with the different fillings and the different flavors, and it has the kind of the map and it shows you what they all are. They're the chocolates that have that dusting on the outside of them. It's like the little, you know, circular truffle, but it's got the dusting of chocolate on the outside, like that powdery kind of cocoa powder, I guess. That I'm getting that kind of thing off of the Tropics. In fact, you know what? Just saying Mexican chocolate kind of covers it. Where you like, it really does smell like spicy chocolate. It's chili pepper spice. There we go. Okay. The palate is so much bigger. That's crazy. And that's crazy that these are the same proof. I was not correct in my no-bake cookie. I'm trying to think of what it is. It's not no-bake cookie. Strawberry Starburst, says Clay. That's a good comparison, or a good note call. But it feels so much weaker. I'm telling you, this drink's like 115 to 120. Now, let's be not too generous. 115. The Tropics. So, look, if $100 isn't going to blow your whiskey budget, if you're looking for something new to try and $100 isn't out of the realm of possibility for you, I am shocked to say that I would recommend Jefferson's Tropics. And it's not a slight recommend. If you like double oaked whiskeys, you're going to like this. If you're a person that says, I think double oaked whiskeys are typically too much, that's me. I like this because it bridges the gap. This is how I want double oaked whiskeys to taste, where you get this extra oak influence, but it's not all walking into the lumber section of a Home Depot or something. Great. Fantastic. We're going to move on. I think it's great. And I think in a blind, it's going to do really well because it's going to shoot over its proof. And the amount of flavor in it is going to blow similar things out of the water if you put it in a blind, let's say against the Four Roses or other comparable products. So we could sit and we could do comparisons till we're blue in the face tonight with Bardstown Discovery 11 if you want, which is kind of unfair. You could do Rare Breed. You know what? I brought up the Russells. May as well do the Russells. Cam endorses Jefferson's. I approve this message. I cannot believe it. I mean, I heard... It seems like a lot of things that have happened recently on the channel have started with me saying, so I heard a rumor. And so it was the laser coat thing first. It's, you know, the Michter's thing, which we're going to tackle tonight too. Jefferson's thing. It's like everyone's saying Jefferson's Tropics is turkey source and it's great. And I just go, really? You know, because the voyages and the ages at sea, it all sounded like a bunch of crap. And then you taste it and you're like, I'll be damned. It is legit. And now someone's going to say, do it blind. No, it's good. It's good whiskey. Michael, I know I would love transparency too. I don't think turkey And someone in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe Turkey allows people to say that they're sourcing from them. Let's assume that this is Turkey. Let's say the rumors are true. I don't think I've seen a product sourced from them that can say that it's from them. They can just list the mash bill. I still would like to see the mash bill on this, but Jefferson's has their thing. They have their singular brand, and they keep that close to their chest. And to me, it's not a brand for diehard enthusiasts. It's like a general audience, general consumer brand. And it makes sense to me why they do what they do, but for the enthusiasts, I know it rubs us the wrong way. Clay, maybe I'll do this another time, because the old granddad, I already know how I can tell you how that's going to go probably and be 85% accurate just right now. So instead of wasting the liver space tonight on that, I'll do it a different time. But I know why you're saying that, and it's a good comparison, especially given the price differential. So this is 110 proof Russell's. Tastes very similar. And here's the Tropics. Very similar. The Tropics hangs with 110 proof. It's more oak forward and less flavor forward. Like the Russell's, you're getting a little bit more of just the general profile of the bourbon itself. And it's a little more balanced, I guess. Whereas the Tropics is more in your face for those kind of like oak lovers, double oak lovers. Now, with that said, though, this Russell's is an infinity blend of samples that had been sent to me that were of different picks. And all the picks were pretty darn good. This is the infinity blend of that. So this is maybe not a true representation of an off-the-shelf single barrel. It's maybe, I would consider it to be 20% better, 30% better than what I've gotten off the shelf. So price-wise, it's kind of an even match at that point. Clay, I don't think anybody indicates Turkey necessarily. Like, I think it's always vague when it's Turkey. Oh, Daniel has a great point. Pride of Anderson County, Single Cask Nation. I know the Single Cask Nation stuff you're talking about. I didn't know that Pride of Anderson County actually stated it. Of course, we all knew that's what it was, but okay, they must have stated it. Michael, I've not tried the Tale of Two Islands. No. Is it like rum finished stuff? Because if so, I'm not a big rum finished person. Only a few bottles have made me rethink rum finishing. But generally not my thing. All right, where are we going to go next? I think we're going to get into Heaven Hill 20 next. I still can't believe this. Jefferson's Tropics. Oh, let's do more laser codes. Let's name off all of our larceny barrel proof laser codes. That sounds like a good evening. Sorry, I'm running on 4.5 hours of sleep. I went to bed at 5:30 this morning, so, you know. I'm feeling some kind of way right now. Fresh glass. What did I say we were going to do? Oh, Heaven Hill 20. Okay. Yeah, Sarah, for the last few days, I've been so sleep deprived. She's like, are you okay? Like, what's wrong with you? No, that's cool, Christine. I woke up this morning, I think, around 10. Rehearsal at 2. I had to tear a marimba down at home, load it into the hall, we're playing Harry Potter this weekend, so pretty big setup for Harry Potter with the orchestra. Those are always insane. In fact, let's see here. So, it's a barrel product. That's right. Tale of Two Islands, barrel craft spirits, finished in rum that have been finished in Isla casks. Oh. Is it So, Mike, is it a bourbon? Is it a just kind of a blended whiskey? Is it a rye? What is the base spirit? Cam is doing Harry Potter cosplay. Hardly, Jay. Oh, Mark, that's right. You did send me a picture of that, man. Tom Harper, have you tried the Penelope American Light? I thought, I do still have a bottle back there. I have a single barrel of it. I don't like light whiskey, Tom, so it's so lost on me that I wouldn't even want to taste it because I'm just going to say that I don't like it. And even when I try with light whiskey to just like try to think of it in sort of an objective sense and get the fact that I just don't like that profile out of my head, I still don't do a good job with light whiskey. Just not for me. Mike says base spirit is bourbon. So I just don't like... I know barrel does great finishes. I don't like Isla finished bourbon. It's just not for me. So... let's see here. All right, so next up, we're going to do this Heaven Hill 20-year corn whiskey. And here, I'll show you guys a picture. This is what the setup looks like this week. It's kind of hard to tell. I'm playing all the stuff here that's close to the camera. The two congas in the middle, the xylophone you can see down bottom right, and then the orange you can see above the congas, which is the vibraphone. I'm playing all of those this week. So it's this is the Harry Potter 7 Part 1 movie we're playing. You can see the screen in the top right of the picture. The screen hangs there, and that's being projected on so the audience can see it. So that's what we're doing this week. So it was a pretty hectic load-in earlier today. Cool. So Heaven Hill 20 is 115 proof. It is part of the Heritage Collection. And one of the best things, for one of my favorite bottles is this right here, the 17-year, also part of the Heritage Collection. That is a bourbon. It's a blend of 17 to 20 years or 17 to 19 years, something like that. Yeah, 20, 19, and 17. The majority of the various parts, I guess, is that 19-year. So that's great. Now, this corn whiskey, different story, fairly light. It has a scotchy kind of color to it, kind of goldenrod. And this was what was in the blind flight that Bill Kavanaugh sent the Matt Madness Champions contestants. This was one of those, I think it was sample B maybe in the flight. Josh Fritz, how many different instruments can you play? A lot of different percussion instruments. I don't know. Playing one mallet instrument, you kind of play them all. If it's kind of laid out the same way. So you could say, marimba, xylophone, glockenspiel, vibraphone. It's kind of like one thing, basically, though, because it's all laid out the same. But a lot of different drums and things like that. Mallet instruments, drum set. All right. Heaven Hill 20. There's a lot of... this is a really weird whiskey. In the blind flight, I remember thinking that this was a Henry McKenna, but like a really good barrel of Henry McKenna. It comes off with a lighter profile and a lighter... like it feels underproof. So this is 115, but when you nose it, it's delicate. It comes off like a 100 proofer. Big sweet notes. Candy corn. I know it's a corn whiskey, but candy corn notes. And it has a nice oak profile, but it feels like a 10 to 12 year Heaven Hill whiskey. Oak profile, but a really good barrel. I'm going to keep saying that. Like it feels younger, but like it's a good barrel. Like when you smell this and you say that's a 20-year whiskey and you don't say corn whiskey, just say that's 20 years old, I would say, really? I would have a hard time at first. Then you say it's a corn whiskey and it's like, okay, I get it. And you can smell the corn grain, you can smell juicy fruit gum, you can smell almost like a toast, yeah, a toasted note, toasted bread. The palate comes alive, though. I really like the palate on this. Man, it just tastes like really sweet bourbon. It's very obviously Heaven Hill. I remember smelling this in the blind and I was like, that's Heaven Hill. There's no question about it. Classic Heaven Hill notes, but just a really sweet version of it. Sweet and light. I don't know. It's hard to describe this because it is a corn whiskey. And the mash bill is not outlandish when you look at it. I think the corn percentage is in the 80s maybe. But with corn whiskey, correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's something different with the barreling, right? Like you don't use charred barrels for corn whiskey. Is that the difference? I should know this. Corn whiskey designation. Oh, it has a minimum 80% corn, kept in either used or uncharred barrels. Okay, so yeah, I was close. Man. I think it's so good on the palate. The nose is kind of like, I don't know what's going on here. Now, when you look at the price point of this whiskey, is it worth, I think, $275 maybe? I don't think so. I mean, I really like the palate. So, if it was kept at the same price as Heaven Hill 17, it kind of gives me pause. I'm not a big fan of that. I know it's older, but it's also a style that is not as desirable, I guess. Will says, don't forget to check. Oh, thank you, Will. Let's see here. I have Do Not Disturb on. That's why it hasn't lit up. What do we got on here? Oh, wow. A couple of super chats, guys. Thank you so much. We don't have a giveaway tonight, as you can see on the scrolling banner below. I am incredibly behind on my giveaways of shipping things out. And I'm stating this right now. Today's January 25th, Thursday. My pledge is to get everything out by the 30th, which is next Tuesday. I know that seems like a long ways away. Realistically, I'm playing a show tomorrow night. I have a rehearsal. Got 2 shows on Saturday of this Harry Potter. There's 3-hour shows with a dinner break. I mean, these are full days. And then Sunday, I have a day to recalibrate, get things boxed up. Monday, get things boxed up, help my student with the recording session. By Tuesday, everything I owe people is going out. I bought a shitload more sample bottles to make this happen because I started going through and tallying everything up to get ready to pour it all out. And it's like, oh my God, this is a lot of samples. So I stocked up on everything on shipping supplies. And I want to say this. There are so many people. Like, I am so sorry. This is maybe the most behind I ever got with the channel blowing up, working on the Patreon, things at work getting crazy. I'm so sorry I'm this behind. And I appreciate so much your patience. And it's very unprofessional of me, and I'm sorry about that. Well, no, I always have it on Do Not Disturb on the live streams. So I appreciate you guys sending those super chats. So Will says, raise a glass for my brother Ken. It's his 65th birthday today. Cheers, Ken. That's awesome, man. Thank you, Will. $50 super chat is awesome. I really appreciate it. All right. Will says, don't forget to send me the bottle of Eagleworth 17 you owe me. Oh, I forgot about that one. Okay. Yeah, Kagan, yes, I did absolutely like the Jefferson's Tropics. If you don't go back and watch it now, you can watch it later, but I loved it, man. All right. Let's keep it moving, keep it moving. I'm going to pour this back. I like the Heaven Hill 20, you know, in the flight itself, the blind flight. Can't remember what it was up against on that Champions match, but it came off like the McKenna. I don't think I would want to pay the SRP for it. I think it's a little overpriced, but a cool whiskey to taste because it's not something you get to taste all the time. So thank you, Jimmy, for sending that sample. I may end up making a review video for this. When does the Heritage Collection come out each year? Does anybody know? I'll Google it. Heritage Collection release date. Produced and bottled in October of 2022. So did it... Oh, wow. They launch in March. So here's the goal then. Maybe the goal for me is to try to acquire the next Heaven Hill Heritage Collection release, if there's going to be one in 2024, and do a video of all three. I think I've already reviewed a sample of the Heaven Hill 17, but it would be kind of cool to have a review video of going down the line of all three releases up to that point. So maybe that's what I'll do if I can try to get my hands on one, you know? That would be cool. Whiskey BS says, Cam, I opened that Seal Box 9. Delicious straight. I liked it better straight. Wow, nice. I'm glad you like it. That makes me happy because I felt bad to some degree, like sending it out and saying, well, maybe it needs a little doctored with some water, but I'm glad you like it. Donnie, what's up, man? I saw that you said you like Scotch Sundays. Got his Heaven Hill 20 in June. All right. Let's keep it moving. We're going to move on. We're going to move on to some malt whiskey. We're going to get to the Michters. We're only 48 minutes in. We're moving along well. And this stream is probably going to be a little shorter. Probably end by 10 p.m. Eastern. I want to get some sleep. I'm going to try to get 10 hours tonight. If I can hit the hay by 11 and get up at 9, I have a rehearsal at 2 tomorrow and a show at 8. Man, if I get 10 hours of sleep, it'd be a great day. Okay. Spirited Life, Mark says, don't forget to have your Scotch dram for Burns night. Here it is, right here. Glengoyne 21 for me. I love, just Glengoyne is, even though they chill filter and it's only 43%, I've always had a soft spot for Glengoyne. I don't know. My favorite, obviously, Glendronach is far and away my favorite, but Glengoyne is Glendronach Light. So now we're going to check out the Bourbon Junkies Exceptional Series pick. Look at this Vanna White action here. This is a Kentucky straight malt whiskey, presumably sourced from Heaven Hill, 65% malt, 35% corn, I believe. This one is 13 years, 8 months at 126.6 proof. So this is like a mid-range proof for these. Some of these go really, really high. I've got one here. No. Got one here that's 138.2. That's like the higher end. This one's 126.6. So an approachable proof point. 13-year, 8-month malt whiskey. Just showed up today. Bourbon Outfitter, I'll tell you what. They ship so fast. This was ordered on Monday, and it got here Thursday. That's crazy. So I'll leave this bottle here. I'll move the Jeffersons. We'll keep it going. All right. Oh my God, it smells good. It's funny because we can pretty much say these are Heaven Hill. If they're not, then that would be crazy to match the mash bill to the old Parker's release and all the dates line up and all that kind of stuff. Deep fried deals. Did you buy their Tuesday drop? Yes, I have. I have some of that Barrel King on the way. That's going to get here tomorrow, actually. So I was hoping tonight. You know, I saw the label get made very quickly. Joe, oh, what a great comparison. They are like the Seal Box of fast shipping. So exactly the opposite. So because we know that this is Heaven Hill, when you smell it, my mind immediately goes to Elijah Craig barrel proof, but with something different, like more chocolatey. You could say more malty. Okay, that's obvious. But this doesn't come off malty in the way that like a scotch does. When a lot of American whiskey drinkers say, oh, I don't like the malt flavor of scotch. This is a different thing. The American version of that malt flavor is different, I think, because of the aging climate, because of the new barrels that it's probably going into. So this is just like, how do you describe it? There's a certain kind of cereal it smells like. Maybe Cocoa Pebbles or... no, Cocoa Puffs. It kind of smells like Cocoa Puffs. Actually, I'm going to just double down on that. Let's taste it real quick. It's like Cocoa Puffs, pineapple. There's like a little tropical thing in a lot of these malt whiskeys, which I think is strange. Cocoa Puffs, pineapple, honey on like wheat toast. Yeah, that's kind of where this thing goes. Alcohol profile, it's very intense. Even at 13 and a half years, the alcohol is intense on this. It's not overbearing. Actually, the one that I have here that's 138.2, this is 15 years, 4 months. It is so old, but actually the alcohol is too much for it. It's just overproof. You need to add water to it. So I do get scared of some of these malt whiskeys that are coming out from Rare Character that are on those higher proof sides. They become unbalanced in a lot of cases. So I think these that are hanging around 126 to 130, those are great proof points for these whiskeys. Once you go above 130, I think you get into danger zone territory. It's so chocolatey. Coffee, espresso. I think this is some of the... I mean, look, I had this kind of as a last-minute addition to my top 5 of 2023 list. I think these are some of the most special whiskeys coming out right now. I know people get scared because it says malt. The price tag's $150 to $250 depending on the pick, depending on the retailer that gets used for the pick. I think it's special whiskey. And if you have the chance to try this, a lot of my sample packs that are going to go out to people here, a lot of the stuff that I have yet to pour that's going to ship on Tuesday, I'm going to throw a lot of these in the mix because I want people to taste these whiskeys and see what they think. And not have it in their head that they're not going to like it because it says malt on the label. This is so beyond what people think. They think malt, they think Glenlivet, they think, hell, some of them think Lefroy. This is not Scotch at all. Whiskey BS, can we get a close-up of the label? I don't have my secondary camera on, unfortunately, so I can hold it close. The light basically cuts out right here. The light, if I go in front of it, then you're not going to see. So let's see if you can see that. Everything on the labels here is handwritten, so it's kind of hard to read. The barrel codes, everything is really messy on the labels. So, if you're on your phone or something and if you can zoom into this, it's about as close as I can hold it before I get beyond the main light there. So, freeze frame, I guess. So I think the Junkies did a great job on this, but I also think... I'm not taking anything away from the Junkies. I think it's hard to pick a bad barrel of this stuff. I think it's all good, which is an advantage. So what I want to do very, very quickly, for anybody interested, if you're not interested, I'm sorry. I will make this segment quick. If you want to, bail and come back in 5 minutes, I totally get it. No worries. I have two more of these. The Junkies, like I said, 13-year, 8-month, 126.6. This is the Abandoned Bourbon, Brian, and Seal Box pick. I didn't pick up the other one, the younger one that D did. I didn't do that. I don't want the younger ones. But this is 13 years, 6 months, not 8. But let's say it's the same. 13.6, 124.4. So the other one's 126.6. The Junkies, this is 124.4. Pour a little bit of that. So that's a very good comparison side by side. And then we'll throw the really hot one in the mix as well. And this one's much older, right? 15 years, 4 months at 138.2. Let's do a very quick 3-way comparison. And then it's Michter's 10-year time to get into all the juicy drama. I'll put these in front here. And look at the labels on the back. The artwork on the back of these things, like I love it. Okay. I'll tell you as we go, I'll hold these up and tell you which one I'm sipping on so that you know. Pensby. Oh, there we go. I was like, what is he saying? Pronounced Pensby. Pensby lad. Pensby lad, thank you for the super chat. Says enjoying the Scotch reviews. Do the Port Charlotte 10. I was looking at a Port Charlotte 10 the other day on the shelf. I have a sample of it. It's a few years old. I would like to buy a current bottling so that I can do a review that's more relevant to what people are going to be buying on the shelf. But I have some of the special, what are they? I don't remember what they're called. Exploratory or whatever the Port Charlotte kind of special line is that they do. I have a few samples of those that have been sent, which is amazing. I think Javier may have sent one. I think I have an old one from Daniel P. and maybe one or two others now that I've accumulated in recent weeks. So I would love to kind of do a deep dive into Port Charlotte, so I think I'm probably going to have to buy a Port Charlotte 10. Amy says, yeah, let's do a very quick 3-way. No way that's ever going to show up in a shelf turds. Oh, I said that out loud. Yep, all right. Richie was saying the best American single malt without a doubt is Westward. I don't think I've had any Westward. Aged Virgin Oak. Oh, yeah. That's probably got to have a lot of flavor to it. Mark clipping it now. There we go. All right, let's do this quickly. So starting again with the Junkies. Delicious. Now, slightly lower proof, 2 months younger. This is the Abandoned Bourbon Brian Sealbox collab. Oh, wow, actually. The Junkies is big chocolate. Like I said, honey on toast, chocolate, Cocoa Puffs. The one that Brian picked. Holy shit. I have a backup, thank God. The Junkies, I don't think I could order 2. I think it was probably limit 1. I didn't even try. But Brian's is fruity. Shorter finish, but it is lower proof. I mean, shorter palate development. We're into the finish now. It's a little more of a flash. It's sweeter. So sweeter, slightly fruitier, less impact, less intense, overall than the Junkies pick. So they do kind of come in all shapes and sizes. I mean, there's a general profile here. And when I'm talking about Cocoa Puffs versus a little bit more fruit, when I say fruit, it's basically that the pineapple note is more pronounced, and now there's cherry. There's absolutely no cherry in my mind on the Junkies pick. No. The Junkies pick, if there is fruit, it's dry, dark fruit, like you're getting raisin, like dried plum, those kinds of notes, dry fig. And Brian's is more fresh. There's actually a lot of citrus on this, on the Sealbox pick. I'm picking up like tangerine notes. It's cool to observe these differences. And now, let's move on to the bruiser of the bunch. 138.2, 15-year, 4-month. From Cork and Keg. I got this on secondary. Smells rummy. It has that little chlorine smell that some rums have. I think it's because the proof is just so high. But all of these actually surprisingly have this tropical note. So I don't know what it is about these malts. This one that I'm talking about being rummy and chlorine, it's got like mango notes to it. The other ones are very pineapple. This is mango. The problem with this older one and this higher proof one is that there's too much alcohol, so the notes are covered up by this ethanol. So it's actually my least favorite of the bunch. It's interesting. So I think the sweet spot for these exceptional series is if you find them around 124 to 128 proof, 13 to 14 years old. That seems to be the sweet spot. If you're generally speaking on, like, my experience is that you get too high of proof, it's unbalanced, and the age didn't balance out the proof on this intense one. You need to add water to it. And some of the younger ones for me have really fallen flat. They really just feel like, a lot of them feel like cast strength Jim Beam products when you're around that 9-year mark. But if you see one of these, you even if you're like, malt, please consider picking it up, because you may regret it later. So let's do an infinity blend of these three now. Dan says, why does everyone complain about secondary but they still pay secondary? Well, because a lot of people have no choice. I mean, like, speaking from experience, I'm kind of done with the days of complaining about secondary in a really vicious way. Like, I used to be so pissed about it. First, it was this. First, when I discovered there was even a secondary market, I was like, wow, that's cool, because I now have access to a lot of things I thought I would never even have access to. Then very quickly that changes to, why the hell is Elmer T. Lee $220? That's crazy. And then eventually, when I realized that the only way for me to acquire Elmer T. Lee is to stand in a line for 8 hours or 12 hours to maybe have a shot at one, when stores in Ohio don't even tell you what they got, then it quickly makes sense for me to just pay the $220 if I actually want that bottle. So I mean, I feel like I've experienced it from all sides of being pissed, but accepting it, but doing it anyways. And now I even have another reason to do it, which is that I want to get these reviews out on the channel. And the only way that I can do that is to either pay that money, stand in line and waste a lot of time. And a lot of people say, well, you make friends in line. You do sometimes, but also I don't want to make a habit of standing in line that long every week, you know. Or people send me samples. That's always very appreciated. And I like to make videos and reviews and do live streams with samples, but there's also something different to having a bottle and having the chance to explore the bottle through 5 ounces of whiskey before you make the review, as opposed to being limited to 1 or 2 ounces on a sample, which is a little more challenging. So I don't know. Amy, Charred Oak, Offerman. What do I have? No, I don't have the Charred Oak. I have the Guinness finish. So I don't know. What do you guys think of the Charred Oak Offerman? Yeah, and the other thing is, like, the financial aspect of secondary. Michael says some people can afford secondary, just not for ETL. Yeah, it depends on your financial situation. For me, I spend too much money on whiskey, and I know that. That's just, money burns a hole in my pocket a lot of times, and having this channel doesn't help, because I go, well, it's, I want to make a review. And then I make excuses for myself. Everybody's situation's different, and realistically, the secondary market prices out 85% of consumers, I think. And I mean, it's just a part of what it is. It's a part of what we have now, unfortunately. No, Richie, I like how you're the Whiskey to Bridge. I'm not quite there, Richie. I'm slowly getting into the Scotch thing, trying not to alienate the American whiskey audience. Some people say, just do it anyways. You got to be careful. Go slow and steady, but I have so many Scotches now, Richie, to review. Javier sent me the most badass sample pack. Mitch Chun is sending me a bunch of stuff from Hawaii. I am very excited about some of the Scotches coming in, and I've just got to make I've got to get a lot of videos made for those and plan it out in a way that makes sense. Yeah, I saw the OHLQ. Some stores in Toledo licenses were revoked here in Ohio. All right, real quick, infinity taste of these 3 malt whiskeys. Oh, it's so good. All right. All right, the main event. It's the main event now. It's time for some Michter's 10-year. Let's do it. Let me check my phone to see if there's anything else I wanted to say. Guy, thank you. I see Guy sent a super chat in. Out for the evening. We'll catch the replay. Looking forward. Just sending some support. Tried sending on YouTube, but it didn't seem to go through. Guy, I've heard that other people have had that issue as well recently. Have a great evening. Thank you. I'm not sure if Guy's even going to hear me say that, but I just want to say thank you publicly. Guy's been an amazing supporter of the channel. Okay. I got to get prepared mentally for this Michter's. I'm going to put it alphabetically here. And let me check the numbers of these barrels. Okay. Tom Harper with a hard question. What is the most under-the-radar whiskey that most people don't know but you love? I'm looking for different bottles. Okay. Tom, 1. I keep singing their praises. Green River. I know much has probably already been said about Green River. And I haven't had a chance. I know the rye is coming out here soon. I think some bottles or samples went out to some folks. I'm not on that list for sure. But, and I don't say that begrudgingly. I say that as somebody with less than 7,000 subscribers. Anything Green River makes, some of it is a little buttery and a little young feeling in the profile. But like the Junkie single barrel that I have, the standard bourbon, the standard wheated bourbon, I think is so good. Such great values. Another really weird one, Starlight Ryes, I think they're highly underrated. Starlight Rye whiskey. And then there's a crop of MGP sourced ryes that I think don't get their due. I don't know if it's market saturation or if it's price or people, I don't know, brand and marketing issues or something. Like, for instance, Templeton 10-year rye. Templeton 10-year rye, $80, gets no love. It's bottled at maybe 102 or 104 proof. I think maybe 102. I can't remember. It's over there somewhere. I think it's a great rye whiskey at under $100. Sagamore barrel picks, 6 years old. I still think, like, people talk a lot about Sagamore rye, but the 6-year barrel picks are $60, and most of them are freaking amazing. So anyways, Tom, I'm just kind of going, shooting from the hip here now, and a lot of things I mentioned were ryes, because I think a lot of rye is just under the radar right now in the market. It isn't getting, increasing awareness built around these ryes. I'm kind of just looking around the room here. I'm always a Cooper's Craft 100 fanboy. And another one that's really weird but not cheap, unfortunately, is the Woodinville Muscatel finish. I'm looking at a bottle of that right now. By the way, let me add some speculation to the mix of speculative topics that are circulating right now. Can I just throw this out there? Because I looked at this bottle just now, and I was like, oh, I forgot how much I love this bottle. This is the Heaven's Door 10-year. What's up, Lynn? Lynn, I haven't, by the way, Lynn, I was apologizing earlier because I'm so behind on sending people giveaways and all these things that I need to get out. Lynn, you're going to have a box coming your way, and I've already mentioned this a few times. It's going to have some cool shit, so just look out for that. I know you said you were over in London, but if you're back now or this box is going to go out on Tuesday. So anyways, Heaven's Door 10, Decade Series. People were asking, like, where's this sourced from? Distilled in Tennessee. So this is Tennessee Distilling Company. I'm like 99% sure of that, right? Who has 10-year stocks in Tennessee with a mash bill over 20% rye, which is what they say. I have a theory that 13th Colony is sourcing this whiskey. So people have been saying that 13th Colony's mash bill is 70-21-9. I don't have an exact mash bill. I have to say this. This is totally me just spitballing. The Green River mash bill 70-21-9. But apparently they've said it is not Green River, and even when they put that on the label, which apparently they're going to put it on the label at some point, apparently it's not Green River, and they're saying that. But they're not going to say what state it's from. I believe we're going to see distilled in Tennessee, and it's going to be Tennessee Distilling Company. And when they say this is over 20% rye in the mash bill, I bet it's 21. This is just my guess. So I'm stating it now, and whenever we find out later about this, I bet you they're sourcing Tennessee Distilling Company because it's so under the radar. Just saying. But that Heaven's Door 10 was also under the radar amazing. Michael Hogan, I think a lot of Michters has been assumed to be Brown Foreman. Speaking of Michters, I got to get into this. Tim, I have not had any Ben Holiday releases. I need to get into this. I keep hearing amazing things. Tom Harper, Woodinville Muscatel, if you haven't tried it, if you're into a sweeter profile, I think it's really good. I have a soft spot for it, but I think it's so good. Okay. Ben H, I've not had the 10-year Heaven's Door Rye. Let's pour these out now. Let's do this. Epic Unblind Michter's 10-year. We don't need too much of these. I don't want to go crazy. Got to make sure I save enough. So I think I've had like a 1/4 ounce of each of these samples just to test them. Good. So again, thanks to Tim and Jimmy. So let me tell you what is in this set of 4 glasses from your left to right. Dan, I live in Missouri. Is there an email to contact you? Yes, absolutely. I'll put it in the chat right now. drumsanddrams@gmail.com. There we go. So from left to right, we have 2 A barrels. We have a D barrel, and we have an E barrel. Now, for those of you who are kind of unfamiliar with the way Michter's works, I wish I had my close camera on tonight. I need to make sure to do that on each stream, even when I'm not doing a blind. On the neck tag of these bottles, it'll say barrel number because all of these are single barrels. The first 2 digits, here we go, laser codes. Ooh. Oh, sorry. Jeez, I just need to go to bed. The first 2 digits, 23, that's the year, so 2023. Then you get a letter. This is A. A means January. B, February, so on and so forth. And then you get a 4-digit number, and that just corresponds to the barrel number. So this is 0026, so barrel 26, dumped in January of 2023, or maybe it's bottled January 2023. I don't know if it's dumped or bottled. It doesn't really matter, but it is that that's the corresponding info. Now, this is a 23A, but it's barrel 307 instead of barrel 26. So quite a big difference. That to me means there were probably a lot of barrels in, that went out that month. I don't know. Joe, I'll put it on the screen here. Someone can screenshot this, submit it for publication, and I'll make this face. There you go. That's a screenshot. Yeah, Mark, laser codes was so yesterday. Today, we're talking neck tag barrel codes. Great. That's all we need. Toshi says it's bottling date, not dump date on Michters. Okay. Great. So the next sample, this one is from, I believe, Jimmy. This is a 23D, which means this was bottled in April of 23, 1187. And from Tim, this just says 23E. So Tim, if you have the 4-digit code, throw it in the chat. I'll read it out just so that if anybody out there has the same one, they can also reference what I say about this one. But this is a 23E, so this is a May bottling. Okay. The Michter's 10-year that I put in my top 5 of 2023, I believe I had it at number 3, was this bottle, which is further down, barrel 0307, 23A. I also have another A sample from Joe W in the chat, barrel 0293, which is outstanding. I'm not putting in this flight. It's my favorite one I've ever had. Mine is 0307. I picked up 2 more of these. One is sealed in the basement. This one, barrel 26, is also in the mix. So here's the deal. People are saying the A barrels are better. For some reason, the A barrels are honey barrels. Are they older? Were they stored higher up? Are they just hand selected? Nobody knows. But apparently the rumor is that they're better than all of the other barrels that came out in 2023. And secondary reflects it by about a margin of about $125. $450 for these, $325 for these, thereabouts. So let's get into it now. I want to ask you guys, since we're not doing this blind, where do I start? Do I start with the A barrels or do I start with D and E? You tell me. Tiller's Bourbon Challenge says, I wish I could find just one Michter stand. Look, I paid a arm and a leg for these. So I feel you. I wish I could find one at SRP, which is even crazy expensive as it is. $180, I think, is SRP. I paid $450 for each of these bottles. So I am completely with you on this. Greg, there is a theory that all of the A batch is just a single barrel because you won't find a high barrel number sub 3. Oh, that's not true. It's not just a single barrel because I've seen duplicate barrel numbers of some of these. Now here's the real question, Greg. I don't mean to shoot you down. I don't mean to be dismissive. I apologize if it came off that way. But the real question for me is these are all single barrels, all of the codes on the neck tags. The bigger question is this is a barrel 26, this is 307. Is every barrel between those numbers released in the A batch? Or is barrel 45 actually released in the E batch? Or the F batch or whatever? I don't know that we know that. How do they actually do their barrel numbering system when they release these? I'm not entirely sure. So, because of that, we don't know how big each month's releases were. But there are duplicate neck tags out there for some of these. So there's no way it was just one barrel split into bottle numbers or something. Joe, of course you poured it. That's such a great barrel, man. Okay. E to A. Everybody says, okay, we're gonna start with D and E. We're gonna start with D randomly. We'll start with the D barrel. First thing on the nose, D barrel, sweaty sock. There's a weird note. Sometimes I get mustiness, musty basement, sweaty sock. It's not always a bad thing. IW Harbor 15 has it. It just shows age, and oftentimes that appears on old whiskeys that have been watered down quite a bit, which this is in that camp. Big tobacco notes. It's sweet tobacco, but it's faint. It's faint in the background. There's actually a maltiness to this, interestingly enough. Acetone. But if this is the one from Jimmy, D1187, feels kind of thin. Smells good, but thin. Molasses. Very sweet vanilla front of palate. Like vanilla ice cream. Delicious. Super short finish. Medium to medium light body on the palate. Like, not... It leaves you just wanting more powdered sugar donuts. And it's totally gone. Oak presence on the end. Sweet oak. All right. Barrel E. Whichever barrel E this is. Greg, do you think the different batches are from different sources? No, I don't believe that. I think the profiles that I've had, even from year to year, are similar. Guys, this is not fact. If I had to agree with something that I've heard, I have to think that this is all Brown-Forman, and it's essentially King of Kentucky watered down. I've said this on the channel already. I took my King of Kentucky 2021 at 14 years old. I watered it way, way down, gradually. And I put it next to one of these Michter's A batches, and they were so close in profile that it was uncomfortable for me. So it tastes like the early times mash bill, which is 1924 Old Forester now. We get to taste it younger and at a lower proof. It still has the acetone note. It has the molasses. Everything I just talked about on this barrel D that I tasted reminds me of Old Forester 1924. It's just better, but lower proof. I have to think it's all Brown-Forman. That's my theory, but it's not mine originated. It's not originated by me, but I would agree with it. I'm not spreading it as fact. It's just an opinion for me if I had to take a guess. Gun to my head. All right, next up, barrel E from Tim. Huh. Very similar. This is fruitier. In the same vein, though. Same kind of notes. Less vanilla sweetness. Less just overt sweetness overall. More of this kind of dusty bourbon cherry note to it. Yeah. But both kind of just thin and watery. So now we're gonna work our way back up. We're gonna go with this A batch, which was my number 3 whiskey of the year, which is 307. Yeah, this isn't close. This is not close. On the nose, there's so much more going on the nose on this. It is so full-bodied in comparison. It smells like a dusty whiskey, and it's so full of butterscotch. I got to go back and forth on this one. Way longer development on the palate. Lynn, I love your comment. I'm going to put it on the screen. And I'll do this again. Someone screenshot it. It's not, this isn't close. So far, the first A barrel mops the floor with D&E. And D&E are not bad whiskeys. Oh my God, but this new one that I opened here, there's a note that you get on some dusty bourbons that smells like cheese. I know that sounds gross, but there's a cheesiness to them. It's just this aged, old, antique bourbon note. Yeah, I mean, this is conclusive for me right away. The A barrels are so much better in this one comparison. These 4 single barrels that we have right here. These two are not even close to what these two are bringing. There are similarities. It's like drinking a Russian Imperial Stout and Guinness. That's what this tastes like to me. I don't know why. I don't know if they selected the honey barrels for the A things, for the A barrels, and then those went out to reviewers for the year to hype it up. That was a theory that I've heard tossed around. They sent the A barrel samples out. People reviewed it, said it was amazing to get people to buy this other stuff, and they're all single barrels. So then then the company could presumably say, well, they're all single barrels, so all going to be different. Look, I think in a blind flight I could pick this out. I do. We will do that blind flight. We will throw in some more barrel samples as well and see what's going on with it. But it's not close. And so for me, I think the rumor's confirmed. You may or may not believe it, and that's totally your prerogative. You should taste for yourself. I'm not telling you what to believe. But this is very interesting to me. And you know what happened? Here's the deal. A lot of these whiskey rumors that have gone around, in my mind, have been proven. I've proven to myself, by tasting for myself, that most of them end up being true. The Elijah Craig laser coat thing, look, in the grand scheme of the world, it doesn't matter to me. But in terms of nerding out about whiskey, it's a hill I'm going to die on because I can taste the difference. And a lot of other people have proven it too. That's interesting that rumor started. We tested it. It's true. Same thing here for me in this one experience. We'll test it on a blind later. We could do totally different barrels. Someone could send me 4 other barrel samples with some A's in the mix. I would love to see what's going on there if it's a consistent thing. But this seems to be true. So it seems like a lot of these rumors that happen kind of get proven to be true, at least in my experience. That makes me think about some other rumors that are going around out there right now and what's going on with those. And I'm not going to name any names, but it's interesting. You can't extrapolate that far. You can't extrapolate these 2 experiences personally for me to all of these other things, but it is interesting to at least see it in that light. All right, sorry, I'm looking at the chat. Greg, wow, this is a great comment. I've heard something to this effect, right? The King of Kentucky 2019 is considered to be the best release, and I believe that was 14 years old. I believe, which would be distilled 05. And hence why the 2022 18 year is also considered special because it would be also distilled. Wow, hang on. What age was the 2019? I see what you're saying, though. Let's say they're distilled in the same year. It's the same stuff, and some of it was left to age longer and bottled at 18. If that's the case, are these Michter's 10A batches the 2019 King of Kentucky, essentially. Well, that would put them at 19 years old. I don't think they're probably that old, because I think at that point they would just save these and release them as a Michter's 20. That seems more feasible. To me, it feels like these are probably more along the lines of 14 to 15 years old, if I had to just take a random guess. Which would put these as 2023s distilled, 08, 09 area. That seems more likely to me. And that the other ones, maybe the other ones are younger, or they're... I mean, would Michters go through and really select each barrel to release as A barrels so that they make sure that reviewers get them? Like, I really don't know. This is interesting. How much do you think the lower entry proof impacts the impression you get about that seeming like a dusty? I don't know, Mark. I don't know, because I had that one rye that Pursuit United, those guys picked, which was a Bardstown Bourbon Company 5-year rye at cask strength. It came out at like 89.4 or 89.7, which was a really low cask strength. I wonder why that's the case. Is that because it just lost that much proof in the barrel, or was it a weird experimental run of low entry proof? Like, I'm not sure. It could be. It could be that the low entry proof would give it those dusty feelings. Greg says, I appreciate your insight. I'm sipping on an F batch. I don't see the hype. Greg, send me an email. I'll send you samples of these A's, because you should taste this. Send me an email, drumsanddrams@gmail.com. What's up, Jeb Singleton? Good to see you, man. We were chatting late last night. Toshi, though I've ever only had an A barrel, I believe your comparison that the A barrels are better. However, I think you're probably giving them too much credit in terms of releasing those first to create buzz. Toshi, that's not my theory. I want to say this. I don't know who said that, but I heard from somebody, maybe they released these to reviewers. They released them all at the same time because the A barrels is what was going to go to reviewers, and they could talk about it, and that would set the hype for the rest of the year. From a marketing perspective, that's very smart, because you can plead ignorance on the fact that they are all single barrels and say, well, they're all just kind of different. When in reality, you released all the good ones up front to create the hype for the rest of the year. But interestingly enough, Michters doesn't need, like, that company wouldn't need that hype, because that 10 years is going to sell out no matter what they do across the board. Which then makes me believe, well, if they know it's going to sell out, why would they do that? Unless they are planning in the next year or two to, let's say, triple production. And then they think, well, maybe there's going to be a glut in the market. Maybe we need to push the marketing hard now and the samples hard now to sell it in future years. I don't know. But I did hear that, like, that was a theory going around. It makes sense. But it feels needless almost if they did that. Greg, is Michter's 20 just King of Kentucky early times? I'm not sure. I've heard that from people. But I don't know. I really don't know. I'm going to taste these one more time. Or just, I'm going to nose them down the line. Yeah, it's a funny drop-off when you get to these other ones. It's a funny drop-off. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pour 1924. I got to clear a glass. All right. Greg says, this great question, Greg. There are significant differences between the two. Well, give me just a second. We'll talk about it. Amy, are you talking about the 2017 Michters that you sent my way? Darrell, you're right, man. The Michter's 20 that you sent me, to me, did not resemble King of Kentucky, but you sent, was it the 2018 release, or was it a 2018 that they released that? Remind me what year yours was from, Darrell, because I think the Michter's 20 may have changed. I mean, it's speculated that it may have changed sources at some point. Anyways, Old Forester 1924. 2019. Okay. So that puts it 1999 distilled at least. But Stitzel was done by then, right? But who's to say that it was exactly 20 years? I don't know. But I don't think it's King of Kentucky. I don't think it was the same. I think you're right. The profile was very different. It tasted like... You mentioned, Darrell, those George T. Stagg type notes in it. Greg, have you tried Booker's Rye? Booker's Rye is unbelievable. Some people on secondary are trying to say that Old Overholt 10-year cask strength rye is little Booker's Rye. They're full of shit and they're just trying to overprice things. Booker's Rye is like a singular pour. When you experience Booker's Rye, it will change your life. And it's not like King of Kentucky, big oaky, whatever. It's a totally different thing. But it's very good. I couldn't believe it when I tried it. It's not what I expected, but... All right. So here's 1924 at 100 proof. Here's the E sample. Let me water down the 1924 just a bit to try to kind of match it. Amy says, yes, 2017 B barrel. Yeah, Amy, I didn't like it. I love you for sending me that sample. I sincerely appreciate it. I actually think I have some over here. Hang on. Here we go. I do still have this 2017 Michters B313. I do still have it. There are similarities between the early time, like the 1924 to the Michter's 10, but it's not exact. And, you know, if Michter's has Brown-Forman, let's say contract distilling for them, they are doing different things specifically for Michter's, I would have to imagine, to make it their own. So, yeah, I mean, it is hard to tell. Oh, Amy says, let's do this. Only for you will I drink this. All right. Clear another glass here. I'll pour out some of this 2017 Michters. We're in the weeds now, guys. And we're having fun. I feel like I've been on forever, but I think it's because I haven't streamed in so long. We're an hour and 40 in. I feel like it's been 3 hours, but my chops are just weak right now. Top Dog, I honestly think it's a fine pass. 1924, not even subjectively, selfishly, I just like the idea of tasting 10-year-old Forester. But in reality, every time I come back to this bottle, I'm like, this is not worth that price point when you look at the other stuff in the market. Okay. Amy, here we go. (2017) Michter's Bourbon B313. Dunzo. There's a weird, I remember this now, Amy. There's this weird note in here. It, like, You smell it and you're like, okay, old bourbon. What is that note? Avery, what's up, man? Glad you made it. Driving home from work, drive safe, man. Yeah. Jimmy, now I got to get an A barrel. Jimmy, hey, man, send me your address, too. I'll send you some sample. I'm running out of this one, but I'm going to... Look, I'm going to be splurging on a few more of these A barrels because it is very, very special whiskey. Jimmy, send me your address, man. I can't remember if I have it. I'm not sure if I do. And I threw the box away that you sent this in already. So, your samples. I would love to send you some. So, Michter's 2017 is it smells like a urinal cake and rubber. It smells like old bourbon. Like you get a leather wallet. It reminds me of my wallet after I pull it out of my sweaty ass pocket and smell it. That's terrible. And a urinal cake and rubber and cotton candy and it's weird. The palate is just, it's smoky. It tastes chemical. Why does it taste so chemical, Amy? I'll tell you this, Amy. The reason mine might taste chemical is because of the lid of the sample bottle. It's one of those foam insert lids. So this may be a tainted sample, actually. Because the lid is pretty corroded in here. That would actually make sense with what I'm tasting. Yeah, that's that note. It's that glue rubber note that you get on these tainted samples. I can taste the base whiskey underneath it. Yeah, that sample's, it's done, unfortunately. I don't remember, Amy, when you sent that, but however long that's been in that sample bottle was too long, I guess, because it has corroded the foam insert on the lid and ruined the sample. Whew. Whew. It just makes you sick to your stomach because it's like you're drinking plastic in some way. But Amy's wouldn't have that. I think the base whiskey itself is still probably not the greatest, you know? Okay. Well, is that going to do it? Does anybody have any whiskey BS? Do those notes match what they wrote on the bottle? Well, it's a single barrel, so it's tough to tell. Does anybody else have any requests? Any quick reviews or side-by-sides you want to see? Let me know. Greg, thank you. Thank you for the reminder, man. So different opinion on the differences between the two A barrels. Okay, so here's the one that I've had that's been open a good bit longer. 0307 is the number. It's watery butterscotch. There's a little barrel char smoke note to it. It smells dusty, acetone, which is the Brown Forman note. I mean that's why I think it's Brown Forman. In addition to the rumors. Jimmy, I did not do the mystery sample. Jimmy, I was thinking about doing the mystery sample you sent me on a video, but if you want me to do it now, I will happily do it now. It's up to you, man. I'll totally do it now. We could end the stream with the mystery sample if you want. All right, so this one, like I said, it's got the smokiness. It's still a little watery on the palate, but it has this dustiness to it. But it's kind of underwhelming. Even with it being underwhelming, it was still my number 3 of the year. All right, now on to the newer one that I picked up, which is barrel 26. This is full-bodied. It has that cheesy note I talked about. This smells like cheddar cheese. And it just smells like it was made in the 1990s. The palate is totally full. Luxardo cherry, antique leather, old Wild Turkey butterscotch. It tastes like an old Wild Turkey product to me. Incredible. So big differences between the two A barrels. And I don't think the differences between these two barrels equate to the differences between the lesser of the two barrels and then the D and the E barrels. I don't think you could say, well, because these are 35% different, that these are now 35% different, and you know how much we're skewing here, we can't say that the A barrels are actually better. I don't think that's true. There's just a steep drop off into D and E here. But again, a blind with more samples will help me determine this. But I think the A barrels are better. Ron, Ralphie Scotch of the Year. I'm going to release that video this Sunday. I don't want to spoil it. I'm happy to send you a message if you want. But I'm going to post that review on Sunday. Jimmy, let's do it right now, man. We have 160 still in the chat at an hour and 50 minutes in. Let's do a fucking, pardon my French, let's do a blind pour right now. Because why not? So, Jimmy, if you're here, man, Sarah, I this morning I was like, Sarah, did you get an email from Jimmy Copeland? Did he send you the result of a blind thing? She's like, yes. I said, okay. Let's do the blind right now, man. One thing I'm going to start asking. Oh, Ron says no message, love the suspense. All right. One thing I've been thinking about doing is saying to people, if you're going to send me anything, whether it's like one single 1 ounce sample or a bottle, or you send me a blind flight, or you send me 5 pours you want me to taste. If anybody wants to send anything, my one requirement is that you send me a mystery sample that is at least 1 ounce, and you put in a white envelope, folded up piece of paper that either has a picture of the bottle or the name of the bottle or anything, so that I can then have one pour from any person that sends anything, and I can start a video series where I have a time limit of 2 minutes to nose and taste that pour, guess the stats, and keep an ongoing record of everything, kind of like the Junkies did pour guesses. I would love to start that series. But because it's going to take a little time to build that up, I'll also have Sarah help me with that on times where maybe I don't have a sample from anybody. She can help me as well. But I would love to have just like a series that's ongoing of people trying to send me crazy stuff and do that. But let's do Jimmy's pour right now. Jeb, I've gained like 25 pounds since July, so no shirt tearing off tonight. I am very curious to continue trying more of these Michter's batches. You know, any that I can get my hands on locally or people sending them my way. I want to test them up against these A batches because I'm just wondering like what the deal is, you know. Amy says, anything goes, of course, no rum. Anything whiskey, Amy. Anything whiskey. I don't want it to be limited because I think that adds even more fun. Bill has a A34 barrel, which is so damn good, I'd buy any of them no matter the number. Bill, I'm sure that's great, minus 26. I'm telling you, there is this weird drop-off on these D&E samples. It's strange. Greg says, when are you releasing your own branded sample bottles with no shitty cap? Well, look, if you want sample bottles that don't taint your whiskey, you just got to get the polycone insert. They make, I mean, you know, the ones that Jimmy sent me. Right here, polycone insert. You can see what it looks like. The liquid ministry bottles that Matt Porter uses with the fill markers on the side, those have polycones. As long as you don't have the foam insert, I'm going to make a video on this. As long as you don't have the foam insert, you are good to go. You want to know something crazy? So I've ruined over $1,000 of whiskey at this point. I decanted all of my Dusties so that they wouldn't get air into these flasks. And every one of these flasks has the foam insert in the top. They call them foam inserts when they advertise. I actually wrote down what these are on my phone somewhere. Let's see. Boston Round foam insert. Polypropylene. Let's see. Let's see here. Where did I find this? They say it's like a polypropylene cap, but there's something on the inside of it that's another compound that starts with poly, but I can't remember what it is. Amy, you might know actually. But yeah, they call them foam inserts. You just can't get those. But you want to know something crazy? So these have ruined all my Dusties. This is a 1983 Old Grandad Bonded. It still kind of tastes like it. But right when you get to the mid palate, you taste rubber, plastic, chemicals. These, I have read Reddit reviews where people say I can taste the metal cap. Look what's in the cap. It's the same insert. So I wonder what it does to whiskey like this sitting in the bottle. It appears to be the same material. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But Amy says probably Teflon. It was, yeah, what was it? God, I went on a deep dive the other day about this. Jay, well, that's the thing, is that it's worse in a smaller sample bottle. So the 1 ounce sample bottles that I've been sent that have that cap in them, that little foam insert, they turn way faster than these larger samples, probably because it's the liquid, the amount of liquid to cap, you know, ratio, surface area ratio, I guess, between the vapors and the cap. There's more liquid to hold it down, I suppose. But the sample bottles, the smaller ones that I have, they turn within a year. And I know, like, it's not normal to let samples sit for that long, I guess. But a lot of my samples have been sitting for 3 years. So it's got to be something with the vapors interacting with it. But here's the other thing is, so since Amy's here, I actually pulled this out the other day, Amy. So I had a conversation with Keegan McDaniel from Aged in Ore. We were talking about this on the phone. And I pulled out this old charter that Amy sent me, this 1990s bottling. Plastic cap with no insert, and the whiskey's fine. Totally fine. And this is one from the 1980s I bought, and it had a foam insert in it. And I took it out because it was falling out of the top of the top of this metal. I guess this is metal, or maybe it's plastic. It was falling out of the top of this cap. There was a foam insert. Jeez. When I first opened this bottle, it was sitting on the top here, like it had fallen down, and it was just sitting around the rim. So I peeled it off and threw it away. This tastes tainted. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I think there needs to be a little more, I don't know, research done into this, I guess, because I'm very curious about it. So I did this will come out in the video. I did experiment with this, and this is an empty flask, and I took out, I used a knife though. I don't think my knife is in the room with me. I used a knife and I peeled the cap out of this because it was an empty one. And there's like a spot of glue underneath this. You know, in a perfect world, there would be no insert. It would just be plastic cap and you would be fine and good to go. I suppose you could pull the insert out, chip away at the glue, get it out of there. That feels kind of sketchy to me because if there's any left over and it falls down in, I wouldn't want that. Nonetheless, interesting. But yeah, I have a bunch of now 4-ounce Boston Round bottles with polycone caps, and everything I store now is going to be with a polycone cap. Mark, no, they're not marketed for long-term storage. And when I talked to Keegan about the aged in or travel decanter, which I've said that rubber stopper, I had whiskey sitting in there for 2 years and it tainted the whiskey. And the conversation was like, hey, that's really not meant for long-term storage. We never intended it for that. And yeah, it makes sense. Like to test that over the course of years, that would take it would take years. It would be an intense process. So my advice is don't use foam inserts. Always use the polycones or just a plastic cap. And if you're using like the aged in or travel decanter, use it for short-term stuff. Clean it out each time. That would be my advice. Okay. Oh, wow. Rob D, great family news today. So I cracked my Michter's 10-year rye. Rob, that's awesome, man. You know what? This just showed up today. I'll crack it with you, man. This is a 2019 for a great price. And I haven't tasted a 2019 before. So let's have a sip. Ooh, don't break the cork. And then I got to do Jimmy's freaking blind sample. Sorry, Jimmy. By the way, Jimmy, are you still here? Because I need you to be here if I do the blind. So that you can give the answer. Because I can't wake Sarah up. Amy, a few of those scotch samples were not in the best bottles. So I'm not sure about their condition. The 50 year is in a good bottle, which was good. I am moving everything over into appropriate bottles now. And I need to move those. Yeah. Like this Alex Murray 1990 is in one of these foam caps. It's got a little bit of that going on. So I need to transfer those. All right, Rob, this one, pouring one out with Rob D. 2019. I love these Mters 10 Ryes. They're always like marshmallow, creamy. I love Mters 10 Rye. The 2022s I hated. They were really strangely more herbal and minty and just weird. But 2020, 2021, now 2019, I have a 2018 that is a vanilla marshmallow bomb. So good. Oh my gosh. Whew. Cheers, Rob. Chill but unfiltered. Have you had the 2023 Mters 10 Rye? No, it's not worth $300. I've not had it. There's no Mters 10 Rye worth that. And older years are going for $250. So don't. I know the FOMO can get to you on that, but do not do that. That's my advice. Because I'm scared now of the 2023 because the 2022 was not at all the profile of the last 5 years of Mters 10 Rye. And I'm like, why is it 2022? At least the barrel that I tried, why was it so vastly different? Did the source change or something? I'm not sure, but I need to try a 23. Sandeep, really depends. I think broadly speaking, I actually think the rye's better, but the 2023A barrels of bourbon are all-time good. All right, Jimmy, let's do this now, man. Sorry to delay so much. We're going to do a mystery pour, and then we're going to wrap this up. 144 is still in here. I can't believe it. Let me say a few things very quickly. Okay. What did I have here? Talked about that. Real quick, the mini live that I did before this one, I did the E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof review. In the mini lives, my idea has been do the review like you would shoot the video at home. You know, you do 9 to 12 minutes of just focus. Don't look at the chat. And I watched the video back before I went live on this 8:30 stream. And when I say, hey, you guys are in the chat, but I'm not going to look at it till the end, it feels a little disconnected, disjunct. I think if I do a live review and you tell me what you think, a little chat interaction along the way, skewing more towards just doing the review, but with a little chat interaction, I think actually that would make it better than saying, I'm not looking at the chat until the very end. What do you think? And then, I guess the only other thing I wanted to say was this. 2 things about the channel being, in this phase of growth. Like, obviously, I want to say thank you again to everybody for jumping in the Patreon, subscribing to the channel, just supporting the channel, all of that. The OGs that have been here for 3 years, through the ups and downs, and the people that are just now jumping in. Thank you all so much. Drums and Drams, like we're starting the barrel pick process now. And there are a lot of really cool things that I've been talking to people about. Possible blending projects, possible single barrels, just all sorts of stuff. Collabs. I can't believe it. I'm doing my very, very best to keep up. But I want to say thank you to all of you. I am really, really trying to build something in the Patreon. A community that is in contact with each other, that's not just a barrel pick club, because we're not even there yet. And my goal is like, don't just make it a barrel pick club where people have access at tiers. Make it a community that can talk. So I'm working on the Discord now. I'm trying to figure out, wrap my head around Discord and get into it. The new intro video, reshape the Patreon. We've had so much growth over there, and I want to build something that's actually inviting and an actual community not just a barrel pick club. That is the goal. And I think it's been going well, and there are good days and bad days, but the feedback has been good. So thank you guys for jumping into that. And yeah, we have the first barrel pick on the way from, I'll just say it here, River Roots Barrel Company. A lot of great options within the portfolio of barrels that they have and that are coming in. And the Patreon members kind of know what's going on there and what we're centering on with that pick. And it's exciting. So yeah, I also want to say that as the channel has grown, so have emails, so have comments, so have Patreon messages, like direct messages to me. I am really, really trying to keep up. It is kind of an untenable thing at some point that you can't answer every message or every comment. I want you to know that I read 98% of comments unless I miss something. At this point, I'm still able to read them all. I'm not able to respond to all of them. I try to respond sporadically. I try not to play favorites, with certain people. It's just when I pick my phone up and I'm like, I have 2 minutes here. Let me read a comment, and let me give the best response I can. I'm doing the best I can. So thank you for your understanding and all that, Okay. All right, let's go on to this mystery pour here from Jimmy. Jimmy, right away, dude. This is screaming Texas whiskey to me. This is kind of crafty. Color, immediately got to look at color. Okay, and it's just a solid amber. It's a little cloudy, actually. That's interesting. Kind of a cloudy look. It smells like oh man, what does it smell like? Lemon. Oh god, lemon polish, potting soil. Yeah. Lemon polish and potting soil. And there's a spice in here, some sort of spiciness. Have you ever, what I just thought of? When I was a kid growing up in the neighborhood I grew up in, they were still building new houses. And when we were in second grade, we would ride our bikes to those new houses and we would just screw around. It was just the frame of the house built. We would go in there and just climb on things and whatever. The smell of that, being in that new plywood, that plywood kind of smell. Yeah. Huh. This is either a Texas whiskey, high rye. It feels high rye to me because of all this lemon, big citrus. Or it's like a hidden barn, or it's like a Kings County. I'm in this zone. Chad Ellis. Thank you, Chad, for the $10 super chat, man. Cheers. I appreciate the support. Thank you, man. Oh, Jimmy, there's a crazy note in here now. Oh my God, it's like Thanksgiving. What is this note? It's a spice. It's if you just say nutmeg, that's so generic. There's this Thanksgiving spice in here. It might just literally be brown sugar, but it's so strong. Wow. Okay. So let me get some stats. Mark, I see this note pop up, Chinese 5 spice. I don't know what that actually tastes like. I'm going to guess some notes here. I'm just going to type it in my phone. It is so... I didn't notice this up front. There is so much of this spice. I mean, it smells like you poured brown sugar and cinnamon and nutmeg into this glass. It doesn't just have those like, oh, maybe it's a pie crust note that I say sometimes on like a Jim Beam or Heaven Hill. This smells like you went to a coffee shop and you got your coffee and you walk over to the thing where they have the half and half, the milk, the napkins, the stirrers, but they also have those little shakers of cinnamon and the other spices. It literally smells like you poured those into your coffee. Wow. Okay. Proof on this is around 105. That might be generous. I'm not going to taste anything else for a comparison. Let's do a weird one. Let's do 103 proof. If I go state of distillation, I mean, Jimmy's in Texas, you know? I got to go Texas. What do I think it is? I mean... I'm not even so sure this is a bourbon. It almost feels like it could be distilled from something else. I gotta pour a little bit more of this. Jimmy, this is a tricky ass pour, man. Since we're only doing one, I don't feel bad about not having the card to hold up, you know? This is weird. I might go under 100. I might go 98 proof. No, I'm going to leave my 103 guess. Texas. I don't know what this is. I don't know if this is a bourbon. I gotta go with my gut and say it's a rye whiskey because of the spice. I would say it could be finished. This could be like a weird Balcones thing. This could be like the Froke. But I don't know much about it. I've tasted it once. In January of 2021, so 3 years ago, at Jason's house, I tasted the Froke, and I don't know. Age, 5 years. All right, Jimmy, give it to me, man. What do we got here? I'm saying Texas rye whiskey. You know what? I'm not gonna look at the screen if he sends anything. I'm gonna stick with. It just mellows out on the finish. Like, why does it mellow out so much? Is it a malt? I am so not convinced on what this even is. It's distilled from something that's sugary. This is not a bourbon or rye. That's what I'm going to say. It's not even a bourbon or rye. And I said it could be finished. 5 years, 103 proof. Okay. Jimmy, I don't think it's a bourbon or rye. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's distilled from. If I had to guess right now, I'm going to say it's a bourbon, if it is a whiskey. But I don't know. What do we got here, man? 103 proof, Texas, 5 years. This is so weird. It almost has this rum sweetness on the back end. So I'm wondering if it's like what? Oh, Lone Elm Honey Barrel Finish. I said it could be finished. Talked about the sweetness. Wheat whiskey. So I'm saying it's not a bourbon or rye. It is a wheat whiskey. If I had to guess, and it was one of those, I said it would be a bourbon. That makes sense. 108, I said 103. Is it Texas? Lone Elm sounds Texas. And Jimmy, what's the age, I wonder? Damn, what a pour, man. That's a tricky bitch. Lone Elm Honey Finish. 4-year. Okay, so 4-year. I said 5-year. East Texas. Man. I'll take that, you know? That is a really hard thing. Once you get all those crafty notes on it, it is so hard to start determining what's actually going on underneath it. Now, the honey makes sense at this point. That's what all that sweetness is on the back end. Oh, man. Okay, I feel okay about that. That's a great one, Jimmy. Man. All right, guys. That is going to wrap up the stream. 2 hours, 17 minutes in. I'm on here 51 minutes longer than I wanted or thought I'd be, but I appreciate you all being here so much. Check out the Drums and Drams Patreon. And, yeah. James Groff, thank you for jumping into the Patreon. That's awesome. All right. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for the super chats. Thanks to Will Molnar. Guys, the pick team is together for the first Drums and Drams pick at River Roots Barrel Company in Cleveland, Ohio, February 16th. We're going up there. We're going to pick a great barrel. We're going to pick a great barrel. I'm already talking to at least one other place about a second Drums and Drams barrel pick. Working on the third. I'm excited. Thank you for supporting the channel, and that's going to do it. Chad Ellis, are those worth the buy? I haven't pulled the trigger yet. You have to like that craft whiskey thing, you know? You have to like that craft whiskey farmy kind of note. It's not totally up my alley, but the honey adds a really nice sweetness that kind of confuses you on what it could be. You know, if you don't like Woodinville, Kings County, Garrison Brothers, then you probably won't like the Lone Elm. All right, guys. Cheers. We're going to wrap up with Michter's 10. No. Well, it's some Michter's 10. Is it the rye? Yes. The Michter's 10 Rye 2019 for Rob D, I believe is who it was we were talking about. Got some great news, great family news today. So cheers, Rob. Cheers, all of you. I will see you tomorrow or Saturday. New video, George C. Stagg flight. I've got to get that filmed. I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I got to do it. And then Sunday, we're going to review McLean's Nose, Ralphie's Scotch of 2024. A blended Scotch. Ardnamurkin. Very interesting. Sunday. Cheers, guys. That's going to do it, and I'll see you soon.